Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Now Debate. I am Jared Walters, here with my good friend and colleague, Mr. Richard Oliver, and tonight we have the honour of welcoming Dr. Andrea Lani, Ph.D. Andrea Lani, I do apologise, that wasn't the part I thought I was going to mess up on. Dr. Andrea Lani, a Ph.D. Andrea is an aerospace scientist and engineer, and also a UFO and alien contactee. And Andrea has agreed to come on the show tonight to share his multiple UFO experiences, paranormal experiences, channelings with alien beings, including the Galactic Federation, of which those of you who have followed us on our channel will have known about, as we have covered the Israeli minister speaking out about the Galactic Federation last December, and offering his insight into what's happening in the world at the moment, what's happening with regards to these beings and perhaps their influence with planet Earth at the moment. But also, Andrea has kindly offered to take us all through a Stargate meditation, which we will be doing later on in this show. So if you are listening, make sure you are sitting comfortably, because that is going to be a part of tonight's show as well. Andrea is also going to be showing us evidence of channelings and meditations, which are really quite interesting. And you guys... just want to say welcome Richard, welcome Andrea, and nice to have you with us. How are you both this evening?
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Yes. I can't wait to hear from Andrea and listen to this story. I'm intrigued. And I have some information of my own. Because I've done the Stargate meditation. I did it yesterday. And I have a couple of things that I've looked into, and I've done some research, so it's quite interesting.
Well, I've done this. I done it actually before we came on the show. I did have a few little bits and pieces from it, maybe because of the there's a lot of weird energies at the moment, so it would be good to discuss that, and I'm interested to see what I experience when we do the Stargate on the show. Can you hear us okay? Let us know in the chat if you can hear us okay, and if the stream is coming across okay. Before we I give you the floor, Andrea. Richard, do you have any updates for people who are watching and are following the channel regularly?
I don't at the moment. I mean, in light of everything that's going on in the world, it's been quite balmy, as you can all agree. And do you know what? It's for a different kind of show, and with the censorship at the moment, it's not something we can really talk about. You've got to be very clever how you word it. So I think you'll kind of leave it for another show, I think.
Okie dokie, not a problem. I just want to send out any thoughts of healing to those who may need it right now. And just know that, and I know Andrea shares these sentiments, because you have said this before. I hope this show helps to give some healing and bring some light, love, and peace into the world. So, on with the show. Andrea, welcome. Oh, hello, I pressed the wrong button there. Andrea, welcome, and thank you for joining us. I don't know where to start, my friend, to be perfectly honest with you. You've got so much to say. Where would you like to start?
Well, I would start with my first, let's say, paranormal experience, which sort of got me into this journey, which took me many years, you know. And this was back in 1983. I was 8 years old at the time. I was with my parents at Celle Ligure, which is a seaside village, a very small village in the northwest of Italy. And I was with my parents chatting on a balcony. It was the third floor of a building, and it was night. There was nobody in the street. At a certain moment, there is this object that appears out of nowhere right in front of us. So it was like, like 15 meters from the ground and maybe 10 meters, like 30 feet in front of us. And it was really at the level of our balcony. and it caught our attention, and then in that moment it immediately started spinning at an incredible RPM. It became luminous. I remember that while looking at it, it looked like it had some sort of halo around it, a sort of field, so to speak. And when I was looking at the object spinning, I could see almost like the landscape behind it was becoming sort of blurry. So anyway, the whole experience lasted only a few seconds, let's say 10, 15 seconds, and then the object just disappeared. It didn't go up, it didn't go in one direction specifically, it just disappeared, and while disappearing, it emitted a flash of light. And then I turned to my mother, who was on my left, and I said, Ma, what was that? And she's no scientist. My father also no scientist whatsoever. She said, well, maybe it was a falling star. You know, I was 8 years old, but I knew that that was not a falling star. This object was like appearing out of nowhere, spinning and disappearing without making any noise. And let's say later on, and I'm talking about maybe my high school years, when I had to decide what to do in life, that specific event was the one that, let's say, decided in which direction I wanted to go. So I wanted to become an aerospace engineer, or initially astrophysicist, then I switched to aerospace engineer because I wanted to understand what was going on that day. And there is more to this story, because in fact, I didn't pay too much attention to this event at that age. I quickly forgot completely what happened. Like 4 or 5 years later, I was basically visiting a uncle. He's the youngest of my mother's brothers, and he has always been into UFOs, paranormal, spirit, whatever monsters, Loch Ness monster. And he had an encyclopedia called Dimension X, in which, in each volume, they were talking about something. And every time I was going at his place, I was taking a book, and read. And that day, I go to him and he said, look, he grabs one of these books, he opens it, and he shows me a drawing, the drawing of a UFO that he had made himself. And he said, in 1983, I was in the same place, Celle Ligure, in August, but basically a few weeks after we had already left. And I was there at the balcony, I was looking at the sky, and at a certain moment I see this object coming. It came very slowly rotating, and then I call my wife, like, come to the balcony, do you see the same object? And she comes, she said, yeah, I see the same. So basically said, it was looking really like a conventional UFO, like, with a dome, with a disc. There were different little windows from which beams of light of different color were coming out. And he was really seeing these beams of light on his face, And at a certain moment, the object just started spinning, became like a ball of light, and it disappeared at an incredible speed, like a bullet, just in one direction. And then, on top of that, during the night, basically what happened is he had trouble sleeping. He was really shocked by what he saw. And he basically lifted himself up from the bed and opens his eyes, and he has the impression to see a face, a sort of face made of fire, of light, with a sort of like air that were like falling and vibrating. And he only saw this image for like few seconds, and then he said, yeah, maybe I was dreaming something, I had an hallucination. But then the morning after, he talks to the wife, and the wife said, this night I had a strange dream. I saw the face of Jesus made of fire that was hanging on the wall of the bedroom, looking at us. So they sort of saw the same thing, one sleeping and the other one as a sort of hallucination, at least what he perceived. So after that, I remember, wow, but we were there. You remember, Ma? We were there. We saw also something, and it was just a few weeks before in the same place, in the same apartment. And then I was hooked for life.
I had a very similar experience. I was interested in the psychic stuff, the psychic side of things. I I was interested in the psychic side of things, and I was interested in working as a medium, and I had done for a year or so. My partner and I had our first house, which is the house I'm sat at the moment, about 7-8 years ago. And within about 2 weeks of us moving in, I was lying asleep. I was lying awake, and this being sort of walked in through the bedroom door, and it was literally like about 6 to 7 foot tall, and it was like a stick sort of figure, and it was very thin and very sort of long arms, but also his face was sort of, their face was morphing, and it morphed into what looked a little bit like what people describe as like the tall whites. But I immediately woke my partner, and my partner was like, "What the hell is that?" kind of thing. And one appeared from the other side of the room, and they came and just sat on the bed, and they didn't speak, but it was like a telepathy, and that was, to have that experience. And then literally, like what Richard said about with the ghost boxes before coming back on, we tend to forget that actually we had several messages through the ghost box before we did the now investigation experiments back in 2017. We were starting to have messages as early as 2013, although not as much from the Council of 12, but there's one in 2013 which we did about 3 or 4 months later at an investigation at a local community centre, and they say that these beings were in our bedroom, and that's kind of what you're looking for, is when these experiences kind of repeat, you have that validation, and I know you have many more experiences to talk about, so please continue.
Well, if we just stick to the UFO, the most recent experiences I had were one in 2017. I was already in Brussels. I was in this house, basically that night I was looking at the stars. You don't see many because I live really in Brussels city, and I was looking at a few stars that were there. And that day I was like asking mentally. I asked for a contact. I said, "How cool would it be to see you again?" And then what happened is that a few minutes later, I go downstairs. So this was on the second floor of my house. I went to the first floor where the bedroom is, and I go to the bed. I lie on the bed. At the time, my ex-girlfriend was lying on my right side, and she made me notice that there was a strange noise in the background. It sounded like sort of metallic squeaking, a bit like a robotic sound. I don't really know how I would describe it, but consider that it was 1 in the night, and there was no reason why there should be such a noise. And anyway,
was it continuous, or was it
no,
intermittent?
More like a code kind of thing.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah. So with interruption, it was not. And then what happened is that this noise disappeared, but I was already with my eyes open looking at the ceiling, and I was like, what the hell was that? And at a certain moment, basically from the top corner of the window that actually gives a view on the courtyard, I started seeing a ray of green light. And in the matter of a few seconds, the whole room, my bedroom, was completely filled with green lights. And I was like, what the heck is this? So I asked my ex, come to the window, let's see. And she said, no, let me sleep. Something that I never understood why she didn't want to come. I think she was afraid, because it was scary to see at 1 o'clock in the night your room, completely enlightened in green.
Imagine.
Yeah, and so I go to the window and I pull the curtain, and what I could see were two, I would say, relatively large discs of light. It was green light. They were moving together as they were connected, but I couldn't see any connection because, first of all, it was an incredibly dark night. There was not even the moon. I couldn't see the moon. And also, I was not wearing my contact lenses, so I couldn't see if there was something connecting these two. But each one of these discs had a diameter of something like let's say 5 feet, maybe 6 feet, each of them. They were making no noise, and they were just crossing, let's say, my courtyard, and then they went on top of the let's say, roof of the neighbor. And I jumped on the second floor to see if I could see past that, but there was nothing. I have to say, it was definitely not drones, because they were too large. And what I actually think is that these two were connecting, they were part of something bigger. And no noise whatsoever. And also think about the strange synchronicity that I was just asking for a contact the first time after 34 years, that specific night. So my interpretation is that my intention to connect was so pure that they decided actually to connect. And actually it was a terrible period for me. I had some very painful physical issue. It was really like shutting me down since months. And actually that event somehow lifted me up. And in a matter of a couple of months, I actually recovered after 11 months no stop of pain. Like no painkiller would help me not feeling this pain. It was really continuous for 11 months. I was almost, But and that was one event. And then the year after, it was in February 2018. This time I was alone in the house. And again, I was looking at the stars. I was looking this time from another window, which is right below the other one in the first floor. And that night, I could see something like 15, 20 stars. And I must say, even if you stay half an hour looking at the sky, there is so much light pollution that you cannot see more than that, typically.
Yeah.
That night, again, I asked for a contact. I said, I would like to have another contact. What happened this time is that in the matter of a minute, the whole sky was completely covered by lights. They started lighting up, like, you go to a concert and people start using their lighter when they play some slow song. It was like that in the sky. It was at the end hundreds of stars. Mm-hmm. And at a certain moment, I also saw a flash of blue-purple light crossing from one portion to the other. And there I understood that I was really up to something. And the day after, I tried again, but there was no way to have such an experience. So, yeah.
So you mentioned that you've sent us a picture about a being that you saw whilst on an aircraft, or the Mantis being. Do you want to talk to us about that, or is it a part of the story? So between that and where we are now with the sightings that you had in 2017.
I think that's an interesting. No, we can jump to that story. So what happened is that after all these experiences, plus also a sort of ghost experience, I had an encounter with a ghost at my place. This was in November 2018. It was 16 and 17 November. This spirit gave me clear sign that it was in my house. But let's go a bit further. In January 2019, I decided to have a session with a YouTuber called Elizabeth April. She has a very successful channel, much more successful now than at that time. And I was following, and actually she was the first one that I heard connecting the dots between aliens, spirituality, reincarnation, all this kind of stuff. And I thought she could help me to figure out what was happening with all these UFO encounters. And so I had a session with her. She told me interesting stuff. So she basically meditate a little bit, then she get access to your Akashic records. She sees some of your past lives on Earth, and then also cosmic lives. And that's the first time that I learned that I was a starseed and that I had many cosmic life in different species well before coming to Earth. And then she told me, well, I see you in particular in one life in which you were a Pleiadian being, and you were actually you actually asked to be part of the Galactic Federation. You wanted to help the global consciousness. The task that they assigned you was basically to design a strategy for ascension. So it's like the Earth experiment. It was just in the works. And they wanted also to design a sort of strategy for ascension to this new Earth, to the 5D. And so I was part of a group that had to design the strategy. And she said, you were part of the group that actually proposed the strategy of the 144,000, which is the one that at the end stuck. Of course, that was quite, I was like, what the heck? I heard about Pleiadians before. I didn't really know much about the Galactic Federation, and I'd never heard before about the 144,000. But after that, she said, okay, so do you want to know about your spirit guides? I see some of them around you, in particular one. This came forward, and it's a mantis being. So it looks like a praying mantis, but very tall, like 7-8 feet. And is a male energy, and it's called Gala. He says that he has been your teacher since when you were a mantis being yourself, and then now is one of your main spirit guides. And then that was the interesting thing. So what happened is, after the session, I was basically the session was in LA, and I had to go back to San Diego, where actually I attended a conference which is called AIAA. It's the major aerospace conference. They have it every year in January. And on the bus, I was like, okay, she told me a lot of crazy stuff, and I want to start, researching something. So I said, okay, I put on Google Gala Mantis being. The first link that I found was connecting mantis beings, praying mantis, so the insect, with hummingbirds. This for me sounded like a synchronicity. Actually, you know what happened? During the session, at a certain moment, it was exactly halfway. So the session was 1 hour, and after 30 minutes, in my audio recording, exactly at 30 minutes, 0 second, there is this hummingbird coming close to us, and it flew against me, like it tried almost to hit me in the face. And then it turned very rapidly and went against Elizabeth April, who had to actually move out of the way, not to be hit full speed by the bird. So the bird then made a big turn and then came in between us. So it was like a little helicopter hovering in between us, like assisting to the conversation. And she was like, I've never seen, what is this? I've never seen anything like that. And then she continued the session, and at a certain moment, the bird went away. So when I found this link connecting mantis with hummingbird, my mind went immediately to that event. It was like, it almost looks like he wanted to give a sign of his presence. Then the day after, I actually flew to San Francisco, and it was about 5 in the night. I was alone in my hotel room, and at a certain moment, and actually I was sleepless. I was like desperately trying to fall asleep. At a certain moment, I was like, I look in the darkness, and I was like, okay, Gala, if you're around, give me another sign. What happened is that I fall asleep almost immediately, which was already strange because I had struggled for hours to fall asleep. And I fall on one side, so I fall asleep in this position on one side. And after a few minutes, I feel as somebody is grabbing me by my waist and lifting me up in the bed and shaking me. Like if you have your mother coming and grabbing you and say, oh, you have to go to school, you're late, Mm-hmm. So I woke up and I started screaming. And then the first reaction was like, okay, maybe there is an earthquake. You're in San Francisco. But then I noticed there was no vibration whatsoever. And then I was touching my waist. I said, I really felt somebody touching me. It was not just the bed, And then we go a little forward, like a month forward. I go on a trip to Paris. And during this trip, probably I got some sort of skin infection because, I don't know, I got something probably in the bathroom, I don't know. And so that day, I wanted to actually go to the doctor and try to get something to heal this problem. It was already, I was already plagued by this thing for a week. And what I did is I put on Google, Gala Mantis being. I was like, okay, what's the message of the day? The first link this time was not connecting mantis to hummingbirds, was connecting mantis to parasites. And I was like, whoa, it almost sounds like I got some sort of parasite. And so I went to the doctor, and she actually said, I think you got some, bacteria of some kind, so I will prescribe you antibiotics. So I took the antibiotics, and in 2 days, my problem was gone. But the day after, as a validation, I said, okay, let me try again Gala Mantis being. What do I get? There was no way to find the link between mantis and parasites. So it only appeared when I needed it. And then we go to the picture that maybe you can show.
Yeah, it's up on screen. Oh no, I've got Charles Adam Dempsey a sec. No,
Okay.
there's the picture. They also sent another picture. It looks like a white. It's like a white shape or something. It's like two round bits and what is that picture? Because I put it on the right of the Mantis being, so I wasn't quite sure about that. What was that? That picture? It's got like several dots on it, and it's like a white. It's like a white. It's like a shape type thing.
Oh, wait, I don't know exactly what is that.
A map.
But
So, like a satellite image of a map.
okay, just let me check.
Background's filled in with a gate.
Because the problem is that I cannot see what your screen. You mean this face? I send you a face?
No, I've got the face. That's a different one. That is. It's got like a white. It's look as if it's like a picture. It's a picture and something's been drawn on top of it.
Okay, I will have to look at this later, but just not to break the flow. I mean,
Okay,
what
I'll do. I'll remove it then for the time being. If we need it, we can always bring it back up later. There you go. Carry on.
I know what you mean, but that I will explain. Is a aerial view of a park.
Right, I've got you. Okay.
Okay, so going back to the Mantis, so this was April, so 3 months after the session with Elizabeth April, I was flying back from Belgium to Italy. I was flying with Ryanair, and I was on this Boeing, and I was the only one actually sitting by the window, and I was alone in my row of seats. I look outside, I see this scratch on the wing, on the wing, and I was like, okay, as an aerospace engineer flying all the time, all over the world, to see such a big scratch in there, for me was like, I've never seen anything like that. I took a picture, but then later on, while looking at the picture, I was like, wow, but this really looks like a mantis. And then I remember to have seen on YouTube somebody, a channeler of some kind, who actually made contact with mantis beings. And I remember to have seen this picture, and then I looked for it, and I put it next to it, as you can see in the picture. And, what's the chance that a scratch can look like that? I mean, it has a big head, triangular, with 2 eyes. Even in perspective, you see this sort of mouth, and especially this pose. I mean, it's almost like it's hanging on this arrow that you see on the wing. So there, I really understood, well, he has given me so many signs. Mm-hmm. And later on, when I actually managed to use a pendulum, I started using a dowsing pendulum to ask questions to my higher self. I asked to connect to his energy, and one day I close my eyes, I feel a buzzing sound, a big pressure everywhere in my head, and then the pendulum, when I opened my eyes, was like moving in really weird ways. I was like, okay, I understand really. You don't have to send me any other sign. I know that you are here. So.
Wow. Richard, give the floor to you. Any questions, buddy?
Yeah, obviously you said you were a aerospace scientist, engineer. So going through that field, did you ever find anyone in that field who had similar experiences, or were they just completely cut off to it?
I have to say, only very recently I started opening up about these experiences. Before, I mean, really, I always had research like crop circles and everything, but I never shared anything with anybody. Also because I was really sensing that there was this, resistance in my environment. So I also been a postdoctoral researcher in NASA Ames, in Mountain View and Stanford. I also worked as a technical member in some groups for NATO, Science and Technology Organization. My specialty is actually simulating hypersonic flows in space vehicles, around space vehicles. And so I have been exposed also to a lot of vehicles of different shape, capsules, also some experimental vehicles, and I've seen them live sometimes, But I know that, there is a lot of resistance, and sometimes when I started opening up with some friends, not just colleagues, they make fun of you, and they even don't assume that even if you are an aerospace engineer with 20 years of experience, you you may be still a fool or of some kind. You're not analytical enough to distinguish a space capsule or a drone from something which, is really extraterrestrial. So I was like, okay. Of course, lately, after this expansion of my psychic abilities, because before I don't think I had special abilities, I don't really give too much a shit, if you allow.
Yeah.
I start opening up with anybody. I know that what I saw is real. I can contact these beings whenever I want, and for me, the problem is with them, not with me anymore. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I even started opening up with like colleagues, like even professors and stuff. Not everybody, of course, but
Yeah, I had a really profound religious experience. I was just before 9/11. I was about 23, and do you know what? It rocked me to my core, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you, when I had the experience, I found out instantly that adrenaline is brown because it was terrifying, right? And I couldn't talk to anyone about it. It took me years to
Okay.
even just bring it up in a conversation. It took me years. I kind of tried to broach it with people really, really close to me, but
Mhm.
it did take me years to mention this experience I had. And I was in my mate's flat, and I was talking to God, and I was saying, I got all these things going on in me, and I got all these feelings, and I feel so separate in this world. This is what is it like? What are you trying to say to me?
Mhm.
And I felt there was something else, which I tried to research, but I just was going on instinct, and I was shown something biblical, and if honestly, it frightened me so badly, and it took me a long time to pluck up the courage to really, talk. And it was only till I discovered myself through the paranormal and meditating and just sort of like just being, oh my God, I feel like me.
Mhm.
When I started going, I just didn't care. All that worry and all that feeling about what I sound like just went,
Yeah.
just gone, just faded. And so I know how you feel in that regard. It's quite something, and when you got all these feelings, and you're like, ooh, and all
But
the people around you are closed.
yeah, I have to say, I never, ever, ever doubted myself. I never thought I had some sort of hallucination. I never doubted my mental capacity. I knew I was up to something, and I
Yeah.
just, for validation, all my life, I was always trying to get other experiences. But I mean, they don't come when you want them, typically. I mean, they come when you less expect them to come. And but I have to say, connected to the UFO and also to Elizabeth April, there was another experience that I had that I wanted her to investigate. And so basically, when I was in my last year of university in Turin, studying aerospace engineering, I had for 3 times in the matter of few weeks the same experience. So it was a sleeping paralysis. So I would go to sleep, and then I would wake up a little after, completely paralyzed, not even able to move a pinky, so to speak, or to open my eyes. But I then would feel a very intense vibration traversing my whole body. It was something, I have been in earthquakes, even bad ones, and this was something on another level. The frequency of the vibration was something different. And on top of that, at the same time, I was also hearing a very high-pitched sound, increasing in frequency in both my ears. And in all the 3 cases, because at the beginning in Italy I did it 3 times, I started praying, Mother Mary to get me out, and it immediately stopped. And then I opened my eyes, I was like, fuck. I mean, and not really knowing what it was. Then I did a little research on internet, and some people were saying, well, when you are about to have an astral travel, sometimes you get this kind of effects. Also, some people were mentioning abductions and stuff. Then some years later, let's say 4 or 5 years later, I was already in Belgium, and again it happened 2 or 3 times. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3, and it was exactly the same. And in one case, I tried to not panic and just control the experience. I was like, okay, do whatever you want to do, or get me out of the body, whatever. And then it stopped. Okay, so what was the opinion of Elizabeth April? She said, I connect to your guides and star family, and they tell me that actually you were abducted. They didn't take your physical body, they took your energetic body, your astral body. They brought it in some sort of ship or whatever, and they were energizing. It was like a sort of upgrade of your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, okay, this makes sense. I could feel this vibration, which was really something never experienced in the physical, let's say, no? And if I go a little forward to June of this year, 2020, I got a reading with another YouTuber called Indigo Angel. She dug into my Akashic records. She gave me information that I really needed because I could access past lives, but sometimes I couldn't put names or stuff. And she told me basically, you have been abducted. You are connected to the Arturians, and they tell me that they have been abducting you since you were a child. So finally, I also knew who was abducting me during my mid-20s and later on early 30s. So it was like, wow, very interesting.
I want to bring something in on the chat here because there's a person called Loki that has said, I think aliens are bad. They will always have the upper hand because we have no way to stop. We have no way to prove what they say. They may say that they want to help, but yet they continue to kidnap us, violate us, etc. There's a lot of discussion going on. You just said they pulled you off the sofa and left marks on your leg. How is that peaceful?
No,
so there's a lot of discussion going on in the chat about this because I do think there are beings out there that do this sort of thing that are not of our best interests.
Sure.
And this is, I know a lot of people who have gone through this experience. It is terrifying for them. And quite frankly, Loki, YouTube did try and sort of say I shouldn't post your comment, but I have because I think it's a very valid point to make what you've just said. And
I was reading it as well while you were talking. I was trying to read it.
I would comment on this. So in general, what I am learning is that it's easy to distinguish if we are connecting to good ones or bad ones. For instance, when you are channeling information or something, typically the good ones talk to your heart and not to your ego. So if they, apart from experiences in which they can be terrifying, there are people who really found themselves on a sort of bed in some spaceship and they were inserting things. That was not my experience. Mine was only energetic. And I know that I'm connecting to these Arturians. Later on, I also got the possibility of connecting to them, and this was all, for my good. Actually, I can do what I do now with my meditations because I went through this process of energizing my body at the right time. And for the Mantis being, if you consider all the events that I told you, I mean, a hummingbird, and then trying to help me to figure out what was the cause of my disease, and also this, all the experiences I had were quite pacific. Of course, if somebody touches you, it didn't leave me any mark on the body. But if you feel touched, I asked for a contact. It's not that he came to invade my space. I asked to give me a contact, and that was, he says, okay.
Yeah. Just as well to sort of clarify this and right, how can I put this? When you're looking at these experiences, you've got to factor in that there is it's not just on the physical level. These experiences can happen in dream time, and they can happen in what we call like astral travel, lucid dreaming, that sort of thing. To these beings, they are actually all the same thing. Now, what happens is, if you have a connection with these beings, as I understand it, is that if you think you've got two sort of lives, you've got your soul life, which is your full life from the time your soul is created to the time your soul does whatever happens to it at the end, whenever your soul, meets with source or God or whatever. But you also have your human life. And if you imagine it like a river, and you imagine when your soul is created, it's going up on the top of a mountain, coming out of a brook, so coming out like a spring, and it's running down a stream and meeting a river, and then it's meeting that river and it's winding all the way out to the ocean, okay, going out to the ocean. Upon that river, you have different stops along the way. And sometimes you have things like rapids, and sometimes you have things where the river is calm. So you have this river, that is your soul life. The different stops along the way, that is your human life. So what happens is these beings of which you have a relationship on a soul level will interject with you on a physical level. What happens when a lot of people go through regression hypnosis, and if you look at Mary, who was the John Walls came on, the lady that he saw. There's quite a few. Dolores Cannon is one of them. Mary Rothwell or something like that, her name is. I can't remember exactly her name. I'm sure if John sees this, he'll tell me her name in the comments below. Mary Rodwell, I think it is Mary Rodwell. If she was in the film Australian Skies, where a gentleman from Australia actually went through this process. What happens if you go through regression and that regression is not done properly? Things from your imagination and things from your subconscious fears then will manifest themselves into that experience. This is why what Andrea is giving us now is, for him, the full sort of story. You can't just take that one experience. You have to look at the experience in the context of everything that you're going through so far. That's what we try and do when we are giving each video of everything that happens around us, and what we share with our different contacts and the different paranormal things that happen around us, etc., etc. And this is what Andrea is sharing now. So there's a whole plethora of things, and it is you have got to trust your own intuition and your own spiritual guidance, your own heart process, because if you don't, that's when a lot of confusion can set in. And yeah, there are definitely things going on out there which are negative, and we covered that on this channel. Take a look at our reptilian videos that we did part 1 and part 2 of last year. So there are different things like that do happen. The way you know for sure, it's that inner knowing and those synchronicities that sort of line up. That's why we always say, they are saying this, we are getting this information. We don't say it completely, because there's always that possibility that even we are the intermediary, even we could be wrong about the entire thing. So that's why we share it the way we do, because it's not an absolute. Sorry.
Yeah. I'd like to say something. She said, without your permission, Loki. It's right. You do have permission. The bad ones don't ask for permission. The good ones always ask for permission. But you've got to understand, there's two parts to all life, right? There's the positive, there's the negative. Now, the positive might not want to go, but the negative might. Right, there is two, defining parts of all living spiritual beings. Okay, and they do appear to people when they're awake. They do appear to people when they're awake. The bad ones are not going to, because one, they're going to frighten you to the point where you're probably not ever going to try and interact with them, or you're going to do as much as you can to shut off. The positive ones do interact with us when we're fully awake. They give us little signs and signals, and they make us aware, and they give us numbers and all different things. But I've been in a position where I've done something astrally, and part of me was dead against it, and part of me just went ahead with it, because the part of me, the higher self of me, didn't want anything to do with it. But there was a part of me that was bound by, what's the word? Not desire, but, instinct that went along with it. And it caused me harm. It caused me physical harm. Mm-hmm. And, that I think that's as far as there is in it. That's the reason sometimes bad things happen to us. That's the reason sometimes some people have really bad experiences with this. Some people have amazing experiences with it.
And that's also why, because we have that prior connection on like the soul level, there will be agreements in place that that
Yeah.
thing that happened to me in 2013. There's a whole lot more to that story, and we did find out that permission was given. It just wasn't given during this lifetime. It was given during the last lifetime or the bit in between. So that is another thing and the way you validate that is because it will line up to different things that happen. And that's why if it's a negativity and you follow the dots, you'll see the corruption, you'll see the negative. It will be plain as the nose on your face. When you follow the positivity, the same thing happens, but the difference is you are empowered by it. You are strengthened by it. You become something more than what you were before.
Yeah, I totally agree. But one thing that I could say is that I never taken any drug, not even plant medicine. And I know, for instance, that it's very fashionable for spiritual people who want to connect with the entities, to take psychedelics. The thing is, if you take it in a very protective environment, like with a shaman that knows how to protect you, or you are yourself a healer that can create a good protection, you may be able to control the experience. But typically, when you get out of your body, you open the door to whatever to enter. So there are cases, and I read stories of people who found themselves coexisting with some other entity that entered once after this kind of experiences. So these things are really to be handled with care. You don't really know who you are dealing with. So, and in my case, I know I was really interested in trying to get out of my body. I tried with some sound healing practices, and it never worked. So I got always to the point of feeling this intense vibration, eyelid flickering. I feel my body almost like spinning, and then shivers, but then I don't get out. And then basically I got the message that really I'm not allowed to get out for my own protection. It's like there is no chance that we let you get out because we don't want to run any risk that anything enters in your body. So you can take it.
No, I've had something similar to that. That's what I generally tend to remote view than astral travel. I generally tend to remote view. I know that the ones that can really astral travel, well, there's different people will have different kind of abilities and that sort of thing. Some people are more stronger to astral travel, other people are more stronger to like remote viewing, psychic projection, bilocation, all those different weird and wonderful experiences that people have. So we are getting close to we just passed the 45-minute mark here. So I do want to kind of speed this along, get onto the meditations and the channelings. So we can come into the kind of second half of the show, Andrea. Before I do that, is there anything else that you wanted to cover about the prior experiences?
Well, this is a sort of connection to the second part. So there is this picture. There is this picture of this being, look like a Jesus Christ. Maybe you can put it, and I can explain the story. This is a picture.
What is that? That was just baffled me.
Yeah. So the story is the following. So another uncle, this time from the side of my father, was went to a pilgrimage with his wife in the south of Italy, in Puglia, in around I think 2000, 2001, and one of their friends, a woman, was basically taking random pictures of the sky that day, and instead of, and it was not a digital camera, it was an analogical camera with a film that you have to develop. Yeah. And in one of the pictures, instead of the blue sky with clouds, you see this face. And my uncle showed me that, and I was like, wow, I want a copy of this. So I took a scan of that, and I put it inside one of my programming book that I took with me in Belgium when I moved here. This was in 2001. And then recently, let's say a year and a half ago, I found back this book, and I found back this scan, and I was like, wow, I never really investigated what this could be, And so actually, when I did the QHHT session, I had this past life regression in which I saw my life as a Pleiadian being. I was actually looking like him. I was looking like dark hair, beard, and I was wearing a white robe, and I saw myself inside a sort of cathedral at the beginning. It was not really a cathedral, but a building made of crystal. And this building had, I couldn't see really where it was ending in both sides. So there was no floor. I was hanging in the air, and I saw a sort of spirit, looked like a wise man. I could only see half of the body, like gray hair and beard and stuff. And I felt that he was evaluating me somehow. And then later on,
can I just interject very quickly? Just looking at the picture, because you could see the blue sky on the right hand side. There's like a wave, and you could see like, the kind of blue sky. So, is this exactly how the picture came out, or has this been altered in any way?
No, it's impossible that it has been altered. I mean, my uncle.
That is exactly how the picture came out of the developed film.
Yes, and I challenge everyone to say that with an analogical camera, they could do something like that. I mean,
no, anyway. that's incredible.
So, yeah, but you added the color. You said, Andrea, didn't you? You added the color to the face. You said, didn't you, and the hair?
Did I do what?
Did you add the color to the cheeks and the face?
No, I had nothing. No. I just took a scan of the original picture. But then recently, I got in touch again with his uncle through my father, and I asked to send like a copy of the original that he had. And
right, I see.
So actually, you see it on. Yeah, you don't see it here. I can show it here. So maybe you see it.
Oh no, the green screen background thing.
Anyway, it's the picture that you are showing. I have a copy.
Yeah. That's fine, dude. It's just, that's incredible. The fact that came out in, pictures like that. Was it on the negative? Did you have a look at the negative? So, sorry, I'm just really intrigued.
My uncle did, but I didn't. I didn't meet the person that actually made the picture. It was a friend of my uncle.
Right, okay. Anyway, please continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and so that was another thing that I wanted to figure out. Who is this guy? Or what, is it a spirit? Is it like an alien? What is it? So the answer came to me recently. So we are talking now about March 2020. So I went for a meditation with, let's go, let's say a few days before. So this was a Monday. I had what is called a family constellation session. I don't know if you're familiar with the family constellation, but basically it's a sort of ritual in which typically a psychic of some kind looks at the blockages in your lineage from both sides of the mother and the father to remove traumas and blockages. And I was advised to do this ritual. So I did the ritual. And during the ritual, actually, this woman immediately spotted that I was connecting to the Pleiadians and also to Orion. And I already knew this from other sources, so that was interesting, She could really see visually the energies of these beings that were connected to me. And then she also said, I can also see a dark entity, which is attached to you on the left side, and actually is related to your mother. Your mother developed some sort of attachment to you, and this in the energetic plane created an entity. So at the end of the ritual, basically she said she removed this entity, and what appeared in that moment was a portal of light. Then she stood in front of it, and she said, okay, do you want to know what is your mission in life? I was like, okay, that would be cool. She said, they tell me that you're God's messenger. And I was like, okay. And then she said, on top of that, they tell me that you have to connect to your spirit guides and ask for tools for your mission. And within the week, something big will open up for you. This was a Monday. So on the Friday of the same week, I go meditating with a friend. It was the first time that I would meditate with this new friend. And she's Belgian, she's 58-year-old, very well trained in meditation practices. She's a Shaktipat initiate and other things. So she said, okay, we will do a Shaktipat initiation with you. I contacted the master that, or let's say I don't know, I don't remember how they call it. Anyway, to do an initiation remotely for you. And it was me, her, and two friends. When I went there in her house, the first thing that I showed to her, it was like, I have this picture. Do you have an idea who this could be? And she said, well, the first name that came to my mind is Sananda. So Sananda, that I never heard before, apparently is they call it the cosmic Christ. So would be actually the highest spirit of which Jesus was just an earthly incarnation. And this spirit actually had other incarnations, like for instance in Tutankhamun, they say, also in Melchizedek. And I said, okay, interesting. We do the meditation. It was like a freestyle meditation, no format whatsoever. So there was a guy that was drumming, there was a girl that was singing. My friend was just there with a hood on her head, and she was doing her whatever and channeling in light language. And I was just, I'm really not a big meditator. Up to that point, I had very little experience with meditation. I was just closing my eyes and see what would happen. As soon as I close my eyes, I see basically this face, and then I see him in yoga pose, and then I see him with like a blue aura around, and this image, and then I see him walking towards me together with some sort of alien, look like an alien, and then the alien disappeared, and it was just him. This image stuck there for the whole duration of the meditation, about an hour. After I finished the meditation, my friend looked at me and said, I have something to tell you. I saw something really big for you. And she said, well, I saw Sananda dressed in red coming down a crystal staircase that was forming behind your back. And then he put his hand on your shoulder and said, this is my worker. And I've never seen anything like that. And this came in the same week in which, few days before, the other woman that I didn't know at all, it was a Romanian woman just visiting Brussels, told me that I was God's messenger. I said, okay, this might be this Sananda. What's next? 3 days later, I do it's called cosmoenergy healing session. So basically, this friend of mine plays the drum, and it's a sort of sound healing, if you want. It was already locked down, so I was at home. She was she just gave me a YouTube link to some music that she had pre-recorded, 33 minutes or something. I played it on my laptop. I lie on the bed, and after 5 minutes, nothing was happening. And then suddenly, I feel my hands getting numb, and then my whole arms, both my left and the right, at the same time, paralyzed up to the shoulder. And then I start feeling a very intense vibration that I already felt another time during these sound healing sessions. And my eyelids started flickering nonstop. At the same time in which my eyelids were flickering, the laptop started flickering as well. The music was like doing zzz, zzz, zzz. It would disappear for like a full minute and then come back. And in that moment, I was feeling like I was in a rotating table, and I started seeing again the face of this Sananda, and then a portal. Around this portal, I saw some beings that I already saw during the QHHT session that I had a few months before. These beings were like, they were definitely not gray. They were like white beings, rather big eyes, but round, not with strange shapes, and a long neck. And they were really looking very, very peacefully to me through a sort of hole. And then I had other visuals, but at a certain moment, I also saw all my spirit guides lined up. In particular, I could see two. One was the Mantis being that I already knew, and then I saw a white being that, for me, looked like a ninja, a white ninja. In reality, later on, I figured out this was Mother Mary spirit, or Lady Nada, if you want. So, yeah, I also got an answer for this Sananda, let's say. And then we go to the Stargate experience. So after this meditation, if I continue, unless you want to ask.
Please continue.
Okay, so this happened on the first week of March. So we go a little forward. In around April, I started meditating more regularly. Initially, it was once a week on Sundays, always starting at 11:11. And for the first time, during a meditation that I do alone, I felt some like shaking in one leg, like some energy was flowing in my leg. And then a few days later, I was trying to meditate, to find another spot to meditate, because the problem is during lockdown, what they did in Belgium, they forbade you even to sit on a bench to meditate. And I found a little park, which is actually walking distance from here. It's actually, I gave you 2 pictures of this park. It's shaped like an infinity. And so Do you have these pictures on the?
Oh,
on the screen?
that was the one I removed earlier, I believe. I got the other picture.
So it was like the shape of the park, and then there is another picture of the exact spot where I was meditating in front of this sort of portal with the street with the light post. I started.
I don't actually have that on here at the moment. Sorry, buddy. I've had a little bit of an issue with that. Anyway, if you continue, I'll.
Sure.
That was, for those watching, when I removed the picture earlier, that's what that was. That was the map of the park. Because now when you said the infinity, I'm like, right, I've got you. Right. The other one, it did.
It's like a construction of bricks. Anyway, so the thing is, I went there I found this spot in which there was no, let's say there was nothing on the bench that would prevent me to sit. There was no police around. So I stayed there and I meditated. And this time the energy was crazy. This time my eyelids started flickering. And again, I saw the image of this Sananda and I saw him on the cross. I started crying, and then I saw another spirit behind that looked like this white spirit that I saw in the sound healing session, and I understood it was Mary. And then I saw some sort of angel without seeing the face. And then on the left side, I saw a bunch of like green, let's say a bunch of souls with wearing hoods and robes, and they were green energy, like they were emanating green energy. And I saw the word in my head, Pleiadian Council. And then on the right side, I saw similar bunch of souls with the hoods and everything without seeing the faces in blue energy. And I saw Arthurian Council. And then I understood, wow, here I'm in contact with the Galactic Federation. I already knew that there were councils and everything. And then, I mean, this energy flowing kept on going for minutes. Actually, once I stood up from the bench, I could have, my legs were really like numb. And this kept on happening to me for a few times that I was meditating. I was channeling those energies, getting some sort of visual and messages. Sometimes I would see isolated like beings. For instance, I saw a being from Sirius that looked like very human, old guy, long beard, very skinny, holding a stick, and it was like on a background which was icy, completely icy. And anyway, so I had this kind of experiences for a while. And then I also got the idea that I could use this for healings. The first experiment I wanted to try was on myself. Actually, since 5 months, I had a wrist injury. Like it was like a ligament inflammation. I had that before in the past, and the only way to cure was to get a cortisone injection. This time I said, how cool would it be if during a meditation, I can heal this? Then I actually forgot about this idea. I went to the park. I couldn't meditate in that moment. I had to go back home to take sunglasses actually and something else. And I came back. I do the meditation, and once I was leaving the park, I hear, this kind of voice, check your wrist. I was like, okay, well, seems okay. And then I started putting pressure and everything. The day before, I was discussing with a friend that I had this pain in the wrist, and I had to go somewhere to the doctor or something. And now there was no pain whatsoever. So I said, okay, let's experiment with somebody else. Then I started inviting friends. At the beginning, on the same bench, same bench, same park. And the first time I went to the park with a friend called Paula, who was super enthusiastic about everything that I was telling that was happening to me. She basically felt all this energy around. I was visualizing her with like the spirit of Mother Mary hugging her. And she said she felt, something. And then she started walking a little bit. And then at a certain moment, she looks at me. And she said, I cannot walk anymore. I was like, what do you mean? The energy had been so intense that for some minutes she was unable to move a single step. So I was there like next to her, hoping that she wouldn't fall, And then at a certain moment she said, okay, now I think I can walk. And I tried with other friends. Some have more developed psychic abilities, some don't. And they all had some experiences. Some started seeing beings. then I tried with people remotely, like in Italy, in US. I started a Facebook page involving more and more people, up to 20, 30 at the same time, from anywhere, India, Lithuania, and they all were having experiences. So yeah, I really understood that I was up to something.
I mean, it's an incredible. I mean, in a short time, Andrea, to have such an incredible journey. I mean, it's got to have been. Have you had moments where you've been like, "Why me?" or have you been
all the time till now? I mean, till now, and other things happen. For instance, you know, I told you about the God's messenger. I told you about the Sananda's worker. Then what happened on the 21st of June? I go on a meditation with the same friend who told me about Sananda the first time and other 7 girls. So we sit in a circle, we connect with the hands, we start meditating, and my friend starts channeling those beings. So I have recordings of all these sessions. And she channeled something like 7, 8 different beings. They were talking. Sometimes she was translating in English, sometimes not. It was like light codes for your soul to understand. Yeah. And then they said, okay, the thing is that during this session, the energy was monstrous. Like I never had to channel such energy. I was shaking like this, really, literally. And at the end of this 25-minute meditation, I was exhausted. I really was out of breath. I had to stay like, you know, like this, trying to regain control of my legs that were totally numb. So I take a walk, and after half an hour, we reconnect, because those guys said, if you want to reconnect later. So we try another meditation. In the meantime, one girl left. So we were 6 women and me. And I have the recording of that. So as soon as we start the meditation, basically, the message is, now we have a message for the human that you call Andrea. And then she alternates English with these light languages of seemingly different beings. And basically they said that I was their messenger, that there were representatives from millions of races, from all dimensions, all galaxies, and I was really chosen somehow to propagate Christ consciousness in each and every one. I have the recording. If you want, I can play.
Yeah. If you want to play us a part of the recording, that would be, because then we can come out. Because I'm really interested to hear what research Richard has done as well on this. Because I will be honest with you, Andrea. When I first heard this, and when Rich first heard this, bearing in mind, obviously, you know, we know a lot more about your story now than we did then. I know we had the conversation beforehand. I was a little skeptical. I don't know whether or not Richard is still a little skeptical or not. How we, you know, but just for those listening, it might sound a little bit odd. It might sound a little bit like someone's just making up words. But from what I can tell, the research that Richard has done actually invalidates that, because that's like it's the automatic, you know, human response to it. So just want to make that up. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Rich?
I will listen to it and then I'll tell you the research we've done.
Okay. But please, guys, if you are listening to this, all I want to say is please listen with an open mind. Andrea, over to you, my friend.
Okay. So
he's feeling the
can you hear?
Is it like this?
Yeah. So this is the beginning. I go a little forward.
Hero has inas an ifut inhas o and uk and ek is it. As hit on had ears in en up is the name. Haar ik is in art in as in out in ik art en wat is art ort. Maar het was zeer goed.
In total, it will be like 4 or 5 minutes. But I think it's worth listening.
If you could move it along slightly, Andrea, there's a little bit of distortion. So if you could move it along slightly, because there's quite a bit of distortion coming through. So if you could just move the time along a little bit.
Thank you for participating again.
Is it okay?
We have a small message about the human that is called Andrea. He is chosen for a very specific task. He is a messenger to propagate the Christ consciousness into Earth. There is no coincidence in his historical background of previous lives. He is being prepared for uncountable human lives for this task. He is so closely connected with the Christ consciousness to the message. And now it is not Christ that is coming toward, but the Christ consciousness that will go into each and every body. It needs to be integrated. And he is the chosen one, the messenger. So that's why he goes through such intense processes. But you are all here to support him as a backup, as a platform. You're all asked to give him all times your unlimited support, so he will be able to succeed in his mission.
Okay, if you want to cut it there, my friend. Now,
it goes forward, but I will say more in light language. But yeah.
Rich, any questions, buddy?
Well, I tell you the truth, right? I had this experience many, many moons ago, and I was being told the same thing. I was being told the same thing in meditation. I was being told the same thing by spirit. I was being made aware of the Christ consciousness, and I was told Christ consciousness was able to waken me. And I struggled with it, as Jazz will know. It didn't just come through that, it came through a Ouija board. It's come through the ghost box. And I could tell you the truth, I couldn't cope with it, right? Because I didn't know at the time that it wasn't, it feels very for an individual. And I struggled with it. I tell you the truth, Andrea, I struggled with it big time. Until I started meditating and I understood what the Christ consciousness was. It is in all of us to awaken. It's in every single human being on this planet right now. If they look inside themselves, what we call the Christ consciousness, because that's the name of it, is in all of us, right? And it's just living your life in the realms of love, right? Nothing more. There's nothing more to it. No more complicated than that, right? You can complicate it, and you can think of it in the biblical sense, and you can think about miracles and walking on water and everything else that comes with it. But in the real world sense, because I've been looking for real world answers all my life in this field, and in the Bible, in all different texts, and the real world sense is if you live your life in love, and you show that of yourself, you'll make the world a better place just by doing that, right? Literally. Yeah, right? And it's simple. You can complicate it, you can make it all fantastical, we can add all sorts to it, but that's the basis of it. And it is quite a thing to do. It's quite daunting. It's quite frightening. It feels like, oh my, what am I supposed to do with that information? And I just in the information I was given, I just accepted it that it was given to lots of people around the world. That very message, because it was given. Jazz knows, Jazz. It was given to me, don't you?
Well,
I know.
I've had similar sorts of things.
Yeah.
I've had similar sorts of messages in a different context. It wasn't in the Christ context for me, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I've had those similar sorts of messages, and this is where I struggle, because in the way that was actually being put across to you, that might have been right for you, right? And I struggle. It's not just with hearing that. I struggle with it when we've interpreted messages and they've talked, the Council of 12 and my own brother, has said that we're on a mission that spans many lifetimes to sort of tell these stories and help bring about this, help people as they go through this awakening. And a lot of people have this message: you are the chosen one, right? And I think there's a double meaning in that, because there is a part of when someone says, "Oh, you are the chosen one," that plays to ego, right?
Indeed.
And my first part is chosen by who? And then you can say God or Jesus, or why? What makes him chosen, him not chosen? Him chosen, him not chosen? Him chosen to do that, and it's like, the place I've come to with that is you are the chosen one for your journey. It's like the way Edgar Casey puts it, 111 is one as in you, as in me, as in God. So you are on the path that you are chosen. What I found a little bit kind of, sometimes this is not just the messages you've just shown. I get this when we get these messages myself, right? It's go on.
No, I perfectly understood. I'm not claiming. The thing is that, I got so many people that I wasn't even connected to that started giving me the same message. And it was always like adding a little piece. Then this picture that I showed you. Then the fact that when I meditate with people, they have the most weird.
I agree, mate. I wasn't doubting what you're saying, right?
Okay.
Well, the point I wanted to make, and I was building to, is just as they are there to support you, you are there to support them. And that's the part I felt should have that's the part that would have got me, because nobody gets there alone. Does that make sense? And that's that's the kind of, when I hear those kind of channelings, as much as I've had experiences myself, and this is why I like the ITC, because it does offer some sort of physical evidence. And the problem when you're channeling or you're working with mediumship is you're working with, if a spirit is channeling through me, there's still a conscious part of it of which I am taking place. So it's in what I know and understand, and that's the filter the message comes through. When it's being channeled, it's filtered by that person's knowledge and understanding. And it's just something I'm not sort of saying, I'm not telling you to suck eggs. I'm just offering my opinion on how it feels to me when I hear these messages, because we've had these messages, and I do not like the amount of people that have had these messages, and it plays to ego. Is just, it devalidates the whole thing. That's where the point I wanted to make.
There is definitely that risk, and what I believe is that there are many messengers, and each one has his own task. For instance, I know that another one is David Icke. His specific task was to expose the darkness. He was probably the first one to go in a public studio and talk about reptilians ruling the world. There are many others. There is Matthias De Stefano, who is on Gaia talking about the Akashic records. He remembers the origins of the universe. He can explain you how dimensions are interconnected, how the whole life of a soul is from the very beginning. So each one has his own path. Okay, so I know that certain gift. Each one of us has a certain gift. I have a certain one. Maybe I will get more, maybe not. And yeah, I mean, it's exciting, you know. For me, I mean, I started with just the idea of what was that UFO that I saw when I was 8 years old, and then I end up having people telling me this kind of stuff, and then I mean, I discovered that people can channel beings with their own voices, and then, for instance, in one of my first one-to-one session with somebody, like I do just a meditation with this person. I saw that there was some sort of blockage between the throat and the heart chakra. I felt it on myself. I felt this pressure here. I visualized some sort of healing in that region. And in a matter of a week, this person started channeling the voices of the same beings. And the first time that I met this person, she channeled nonstop for 45 minutes. A person that has never channeled in her life. Yeah. So, yeah, there are a lot of crazy people around.
It was more trying to get across to the guys watching, to our para peeps, but also just get across, you know, how that kind of feels and kind of put some context to it, because that really happens when I was having these sorts of messages, when Richard was having these sorts of messages, you know, what we try and do, my friend, there was nothing against you or the person in the recording at all. It was more just a point of saying, right, I remember when I was having these types of messages, how I felt and the questions I asked. So I'm trying to add that context. So if someone else is there in my position, or in Richard's position, or your position, that we were in maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is, it adds that little bit of context, because sometimes a lot of people who are in these circles forget that your average person hasn't reached that point yet of understanding. And it can come across not how it is. You know, you could be the chosen one to pick beans. It's just as important as the chosen one to make sure everyone in the world has shelter. Do you know what I mean? Because picking beans means people get food. So it's exactly the same. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's the kind of language they're using. It's your chosen path, if that makes sense.
Well, one person, you think of it like this, and this is how I kind of think of it. One person couldn't reach the world, right? Even with social media, you know, and you would get through to someone, and you've got to think of like being given something. And I've always said this with Spirit. They asked me to give you something that I can't really, honestly, in my heart, prove. I'm asking you to take something on faith, right? And this is what Spirit are doing all the time, and they constantly ask you to get people to be aware of something that you can't prove. You just have to take on faith, and there's the right people for that. I mean, I'm just a mad Welshman, and you know, there's going to be people that relate more to you, and there's going to be people from my culture that relate more to me.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about. And it's giving you confidence.
We are made, I mean, we are not like, I don't know, if you want to go to, I don't know, Jesus' times, he was just going from village to village, the one that he could reach, you know, with the tools at the time. Yeah. Now, 8 billion people, of course, you don't need one person. You need, some say 144,000, but there are more than that. So, but each one is a specific task. And I have an idea of what is my task. And also I know why I was placed within science, within a scientific environment, because there is a lot of resistance even to accept that UFOs are real, even though now there is disclosure from even from media, you know, there is disclosure from this Haim Eshed, the head of the Israeli space program. So and now also Trump just announced that within the next 180 days they will have to disclosure something, you know. So there is a lot of people.
The CIA have just dropped a boatload of documents as well.
Yeah. So there is people still looking for the little gray man, and there is much more going on. And people like us are sort of bridge between the two worlds. If you don't fully understand why aliens, or I don't call them aliens, cosmic beings, because aliens is a bit like, it make you immediately feel that it's something detached from you, while they're sort of part of you, So, and the thing is that these beings, they have a mission, and the mission is to assist you. Some of them are working against you, and they're actually the one ruling the planet at this moment. So archons, reptilians, draconians, whatever you want to call them, plus astral entities. So demons also work in the astral world. They're not aliens, but they operate in that world with the draconians. And then there are the good ones, and these good ones, have an agenda, have designed the Earth experiment to let people evolve, not just individually, but at the planetary level. And so, you have to connect the dots. And I was put in the scientific environment because there is nobody really. There are very few, let's say, insiders.
Definitely.
And connecting all the dots in that field, and even having their own psychic abilities. So,
and if I just interject very quickly, because I want to get back onto the voices, the channelings that we were doing, that adds to your credibility, Andrea. That to actually have the credentials that you do, and anyone can check them out. They literally, if anyone can check out your credentials. It's not hard to find. That adds to your credibility. That adds to your credibility. The fact that you are a scientist and an engineer. You're someone who's been through that system, who's been through the academia and been through it in the business and governmental and all the rest of it. So the fact that this is, you are not someone that's Joe scientist with his chemistry set. You are someone with some very quite substantial accomplishments talking about this, my friend, and that's where as well we've got to see. That's where people have got to see the different sides to this. This is happening to people no matter their background, and seeing someone like you come forward this sort of stuff, but it gives me faith, it gives me hope. I'll be honest with you.
I have to say, it also opens door to, let's say, it's a bit dangerous in my environment to come out, and I can make you a recent example. So basically, I had uploaded on my channel, and this was some months ago, around August, some videos in which I was trying to prove that I could affect the electronic. Let's say what I noticed is that sometime when I was video recording myself meditating, some glitches would appear in the video. And I uploaded a video in which I was shaking very bad, because when I channel those energies to keep open the Stargate, it's really like an energetic thing, So I shake a lot, I have eyelids flickering. And basically what happened is that some ex-colleagues, they took snapshots of this, and they started having a chat among themselves saying, Andrea is driving crazy. Andrea says that he's ambassador for some ETs. He should be fired. He's leading a European, actually at the moment I'm leading a European project. It's a big budget, like 3.5 million euro for developing magnetic shielding of spacecrafts. And they were saying he's talking about reptilians and pedophiles ruling the European Union, and he should be fired. No, something like that. And then I removed the video, and I removed many other videos that I had done in the meantime. It's like, and now and then I post on my Facebook page that every friend can see something, but never really the full picture, because anyway, it's really hard to believe, even for myself. If somebody would come and tell me something like what I'm telling to you, like 5 years ago, I would have said, come on, I can understand this, I can understand that, maybe that, but that is too much. This is coming out of a sci-fi movie, meeting biblical mysticism, whatever. And then you look around and you find 200 groups of starseeds who have similar experiences of energies, of beings. And then you say, well, if I'm driving crazy, I have a good company,
Yeah.
Then you figure, Yeah, you figure out that there are people like this Simon Parks that I discovered only this week that speaks about mantis beings and reptilian
Yes,
and everything.
he does, yeah.
And he has 670,000 followers. And you understand that, there is a big community that is aware of those things. Of course, they don't make it to your CNN broadcast. They don't make it to your university. You don't find a university professor that will tell you aliens are real. It's not that we are looking for a microbial life on Mars. There are beings much more advanced than you that don't even need a spacecraft to travel. And they can communicate with anybody from anywhere in the universe, from any dimension. It's real. You just do your work, learn to meditate, do some past life regression, try hypnosis. If you want to connect and you are genuine you will be contacted. So
Exactly. Absolutely. With regards to the research that you did,
Yes,
Richard,
you got feedback coming through, but
has anyone got me turned up on speaker?
no, you're all right now. It's gone. It was really bad feedback, and it's all right now.
Okay. Andrea, do you have just a very short sample of the lady speaking in tongues, like 30 seconds or so, to show us?
To speak in light language.
That's it. Sorry, I do apologise.
Meditation. Yeah, the meditation one.
If you could just show us a very short sort of sample of it.
But you mean on my channel?
No, the one where the one where she came in with different languages, where she was speaking in
I can just continue. I can take another audio of this same friend.
Yeah, if you want to if you could move it along a little bit, just so we can hear the language. So
Okay.
I'm interested to hear what Richard has found out about it.
Okay, so let's see. This is another one. This is another meditation on the 4th of October.
Sing for him.
And we were only 5 at the time. There is one girl in the group that sings. That's her way to meditate.
That's pretty cool. Okay, if you want to pause it by there, my friend. I'm just aware the time's getting on, and I know some people might like to do the meditation, that's all.
Yeah.
So Richard, what did you find, my friend?
Well, I did the meditation we're about to do, the Stargate meditation. I did the 33-minute one, and I did the 13-minute one.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be honest, I have severe word blindness, dyslexia, and it triggered it. Right, I got to be honest, it triggered my dyslexia, right, because of what she was saying. I was kind of like, I kept hearing like a repeating pattern, and it was the weirdest thing. And I kept thinking, this part of that language I understand, and I didn't. I saw some geometric shapes. I had quite a weird meditation. I won't go into it on the channel because it's a bit weird. But it bugged me, and I was like, I know this different languages. Now, is it Sarah, I believe, is doing the speaking in your Stargate videos?
I'm in contact with
who's the blonde girl when you're sitting in your kitchen? Who's the blonde girl?
The blonde, she's my friend Sarah, the one that actually had the session with me and started channeling after the session with me. So she literally sometimes in a session channel like 30 beings. And let me just say one thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm meditating, I'm asking, who are those beings? Sometimes I get an answer. I even see some visual. So it can be Pleiadians, Arcturians, golden beings from the central sun, can be Antarians, Lyrians, whatever you want. But sometimes the answer is, we are a collective. We speak like with a single voice. So it's not really like one being sometimes. It's really like a collective. And they don't even want to be separated.
That's the exact same response we asked when we asked about the Council of 12. Sorry, carry on, Rich.
Well, this is when I was thinking, I kept hearing, I was like, right. So I did some translating, right? Now, what nationality is Sarah? can I ask?
American.
American.
Yeah.
Does she speak any other languages?
A little bit of Spanish.
Right. Well, I translated the Stargate sessions, and there was one word in particular. I've only cross-referenced a couple of words by her because there was a lot. We did a lot, but it was Mahalia, right? Now Mahalia is a girl's name, but in Hebrew, it's tenderness and affection, and it is the same word in Hawaiian, and it's woman and tenderness. Native American, it's woman.
Whoa.
Arabic, it's powerful. Greek, it's tenderness and affection. Now there are two biblical references to Mahalia, right? There was the daughter of Ishmael, and she was the granddaughter of Abraham and Agar, right? There was another reference she did, which was Alashia, which is woman in Arabic, right? It's also Arab. And in that language, there was Arabic, Italian, Chinese, Himalayan, Hebrew, and Swahili.
Oh my Lord.
Was there actually Swahili?
Swahili. Because I said to Jared last night, I said, bloody hell, Jazz, I can speak Swahili, right? Because I could this language, I could just say it. It was the weirdest thing. But there was Indian, right? Native American. In that language, I'm not making this up. We did research on it, right? And we found the words, and we repeated them, and we did research on it, and there was at least, I would estimate there was probably, as far as I can tell, 9 languages. So I mean that, I don't know. I mean, that's for you guys watching to take as you will. But she was speaking. Now these names are what the language we took is as old as the language was. So it was the language that came from that language, if you know what I mean. Because there's similarities in the words. It's like you have the word for dragon, right? There isn't actually a word in existence for dragon. It comes from somewhere else, because every language on Earth has a D sounding name. Well, nearly every language on Earth has a D sounding name for the word dragon. So it's Drogon, Drakia, Drakia. You know, it's always got a D sound, right?
Yeah.
I've done this on the show before. It's like the word for dog, right? There isn't a real word in the English language for the word dog, because our language is a mixture of 3 languages. And the word for dog is German is Hund, French is Cien, and I think Latin is Canis.
Yeah.
So there's no reference, and this is what the kind of research I did. But yeah, she is speaking, as far as I can tell, 9 languages. So it's kind of, I mean, that just for yourself, I just sort of add a bit of credence to it.
But yeah, the thing is, some of those languages, so-called light languages, are sort of universal languages in the universe. So they can understand each other when they talk, you know, in some way. Some maybe they cannot understand and they just communicate telepathically some images. And actually some of those beings, as you've probably seen also, I mean, in the one that I played, but also in many of the meditation that I have on my channel, get also messages in English. But only few of them apparently can do that.
Well, Hebrew, you know, I mean, these the languages you speak in are the old version of all the origin of the language we have in the world. So, I mean, there's something in that, you know. I wanted to know because it did something to me. When I meditated, the language did something to me. And I did find it difficult to meditate, but I was distracted. I felt like I was distracted by the language. And I thought to myself, and I had this discussion, I thought, is she, I honestly, I tell you, Andre, I thought, is she making it up? But when I did, I thought, there's something. How am I knowing this language kind of thing, right? How was the things I know? And that's the research I come up with.
I must admit, when I listened to her, and I probably listened to her for like, I don't know, a countless number of hours, I don't feel that I recognize a word, honestly. Sometimes some names, but nothing else. There are people like Native Americans that are in our circle of meditators. They really understand full sentences. And there is a Dominican woman from the Dominican Republic. She also can understand some things that sound a bit Spanish. And, but I mean, for sure I know that she's not made it up. And there are so many people having this gift of chanting those voices.
Well, I've actually got Spanish on you. Right? And what was happening to me was I was understanding, and I don't speak another language. I don't speak English very good, to be honest with you. Right? But I was recognizing, I was understanding, I had a mental picture in my head of the words she was saying, but for the English translation. So when she was saying a word, I was seeing the word kindness, right? And tenderness, and woman, and hope, and I was hearing love. And then it was like part of me was thinking, oh, I don't know if I like this, because it was like a chant, right?
Yes.
And I was thinking, oh, and I was having like mixed emotions about it. So I thought I need to like settle this for my own self. And that's what I came up with.
I mean, angels, she channels angels, and she channels these higher beings that like to sing also. And also some other sounds are more like really codes and machinery. We were told that it's really like machinery. It's some sort of very fancy code that is able to break blockages in your DNA. You know, there is a part of your DNA which correspond to more or less 90% of it that is not decoded by the scientists. They call it junk DNA, just because they don't have the tools to understand what's in there. And actually the whole story of your soul plus all your psychic abilities, it's all in there. And these kind of codes are able to break the blockages and release part of this information. And so you start getting, memories of past life, you start getting some clairvoyance and stuff, and it's all working through these codes. So,
So shall we go into the meditation to round off tonight's show then? Because we are... thank you to those who have stayed. I know there's still quite a few of you here. I would like do you guide in protection before you do meditation, Andrea?
Well, what I can say, I will just ask to visualize yourself like surrounded by a violet flame.
Yeah, if you want to go and do the violet flame, my friend, that's fine. I'm going to hand it over to you, and if you want to take us through, is there anything else you need from us as you take us through this? So
the thing is, it will be a silent meditation. So I just drive you at the beginning through some visualization, and then you just stay silent for, I would say, 11 minutes. Is it okay for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine, my friend.
Okay,
that's
so
fine.
I will put a timer at...
what I'm going to do, when you do it, I don't know why I've got the vibe to do this, but the picture you have for this being, I'm going to put him on screen.
Okay, perfect.
So you're not just looking at Richard in your face or my Richard in your face as we meditate. So let's put our little gentleman on screen. I can't remember his name again now, the one you said earlier. Sananda. So let's put a picture of Sananda on the screen, and any of you guys wish to join us, just let us know how you fare in the chat. But yeah, if you want to do the violet flame protection first, I would be very grateful if you would do that, because obviously we want to make sure that anyone doing this is protected.
Yes, and the other thing I want to say is that you're supposed to close your eyes and relax, so please don't look at me. I can tell you that I will shake very bad. It's really an energy that I feel. Like the moment I decide to connect, which happens after a few seconds, basically I feel like electric currents flowing from my body.
Yeah.
And
That's why they won't be the viewers won't see you, my friend. They will see the picture of Sananda.
They don't have to be distracted by me. That's the thing. Okay, so I suggest that we start this meditation. So you close your eyes. You visualize yourself, also the space in which you are, completely surrounded by violet flame. so that we keep, let's say, outside of our space any possible interference, any astral entities or anything. And then I also ask you to visualize a beam of turquoise light coming out from my heart and connect to your heart. Once you have done that, you visualize a beam of light coming out of your heart and connecting you to the center of the earth, where you imagine to have a big crystal also of the same color, so turquoise. After this, you visualize a funnel of light of the same color coming from the central sun, entering in your body from your head, from your crown chakra, and getting to your heart. So this is just a setup that we use for starting the meditation, and for the rest, you just need to relax. Try to avoid to think. If you, let's say, if you have some thoughts, focus on your breath, and we can start. Funnily enough, it ended at 11:11. At least on my phone. That's crazy.
Do you break the links? Because you've obviously asked people to link to your heart and that sort of thing. Do you break the links? Do you ask them to break the link to it now? Because I'm thinking obviously that's an open link, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe you should peacefully close the meditation, but I typically don't do it. Maybe it's a problem, but I think there is enough protection. But
if anyone wants to do that, just visualize your energy coming back into your body and being surrounded by a bubble of golden light. And just visualize any links that you've made to others who may be doing this meditation at this time. And just bring your energy back into yourself. Thank you, Andrea. I'm feeling a bit shaky, to be honest. After that, that was interesting. I will keep the show going for a couple of more minutes just because of the delay. Did anyone on the chat, if you did do that meditation and you feel as if it had an effect on you, try getting yourself a glass of water, rehydrate yourself. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing now shortly. Rich, did you experience anything, or is it not something you'd like to share? Or
I'd keep that to myself, but I would just like to say, if anybody did experience anything, please let us know. And I would like to give a bit of a shout out before I say thank you to Andrea. And the person that came on the chat called Loki, right? I don't want anybody to come to this channel and have a bad experience or be given information that they believe is false. It's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's just about our own experiences, and we are trying to put this out there. So, Loki, if you look at the channel, right, you can contact us by email. If you ever want anyone to chat to, because you did sound like you're going through something, and I don't want you to feel like there's no one to turn to, that is what we are here for. We are here for someone to turn to in regards to any of this. And if you would like to get in contact with us, to see if it's, because if we can't help, we probably know someone that can. And don't ever feel alone or isolated or like no one's listening. I take everything on board you said in the messages. I really do. I was just trying to give you a sense of like there is something, there is a chance that there is more to it. You have good experience, or most of the experiences I say most. I've had really negative paranormal ones, but most of the experience I've ever felt in this world in regards to negativity have come from people. So if you are struggling, if somebody can get there on the chat, I'll try and find you myself. But if you are listening by any chance, please try and contact us for help.
And that goes the same. Anyone who does misbehave on the chat, everyone's entitled to your own opinions.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, we do not want people on here who are negative to other people's opinions. The point of this channel is to share our experiences. We all think differently. We all have people that we might look up to, or we might share opinions about, and some of them might be divisive. We all have had experiences that maybe other people haven't had. The point of this channel is to share those experiences, and the minute someone starts getting divisive or abusive, I'm sorry, but you're not welcome. And it's as simple as that. I don't mean that in a nasty way. If anyone's genuinely having problems, the point, as Richard said, our email address is paranormalnow@outlook.com. Because Guys, Andrea, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I would love to have you back on again later this year to come and sort of give a bit of an update. Would you be happy to work with us again?
Oh, absolutely.
We haven't traumatized you that much then.
Yeah. I'm sure we can find a lot of things to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, my friend, please do stay in touch with us. And absolutely, it's been absolutely wonderful to have you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for coming in and giving everything you've given. All right. To be honest, that meditation. I'm going to take a very quick look at the chat to see if anyone has posted any experiences. Yeah. Okay. Anyone that does want to leave a comment, just leave it on the comment section when this video goes live tomorrow. Guys, I'm going to leave it there now. Thank you very much, Parapeeps. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Richard. Andrea, if you'd like to stay on the line after this show ends, I really would like to have a chat with you about something.
Sure, definitely.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you in the next.
Yeah. Love and light, Parapeeps.
Love and light. Take care.